You have 30 days to move out, my mother sneered, tapping her perfectly manicured nails on the kitchen counter. We sold your apartment, Sarah. I stood in the sunlit kitchen, the same one where I'd hosted countless family dinners, built my catering business from scratch, and cared for my grandmother in her final days. Morning light cast long shadows across the hardwood floor we'd restored together, making everything feel almost surreal. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 35, and I never imagined I'd face eviction from my own home by my own family. Don't look so shocked. My brother James chimed in, standing beside our mother, his arm around his wife, Lisa. You're barely here, always off at your catering events. Lisa needs a real home, especially now that we're having a baby. A baby? Of course. Lisa's pregnancy was just another excuse for the family to hand James everything he wanted, as they always had since we were kids. I took a slow sip of coffee, savoring the flicker of unease on my mother's face at my calm demeanor. So, you decided selling my apartment was the solution? Well, technically, it's not yours anymore, my mother replied, pulling papers from a folder. When you moved in, your father and I kept our names on the deed. For tax benefits, remember? Her smile turned predatory. We signed the sale yesterday. In 30 days, Lisa and James take official ownership. I remembered my last conversation with my grandmother, just weeks before her death. She sat in this very kitchen, her health failing but her gaze sharp. They'll try to take this apartment from you, she warned. Your mother never forgave me for not giving her this building when she married your father. This apartment, in a stunning pre-war building in one of the city's most coveted neighborhoods, had been in our family for generations. The entire building was ours. My mother grew up here, certain it would one day be hers. But my grandmother had other plans. I know what you did with the money I gave you, she'd said that day, watching me knead dough for her favorite scones. You invested it in your business, built something real, not like James with his failed startups or Lisa with her Instagram brand. She handed me an envelope. Keep this safe. Don't show them until the time comes. Now, facing my family's betrayal in this kitchen, I could almost feel the weight of that envelope in my desk drawer upstairs. You know, I said, keeping my voice steady, we should probably discuss something. I walked to my office, ignoring their irritated sighs. My mother always disapproved of my choice to turn the second bedroom into a workspace. A real lady needs a guest room, she'd scoff. I returned with a worn but meticulously organized folder. Before we talk about my eviction, you should see this. What is it? Lisa asked, speaking for the first time, her voice uncertain as she cradled her slightly rounded belly. The real deed, I replied calmly, placing the papers on the counter. And proof that the neighboring building belongs to me too. My mother paled as she read. 2 properties, both legally transferred to me 3 years ago, signed and notarized with Grandma's clear signature. This apartment was never yours. Grandma had kept their names on the lease to keep family peace, but the properties were mine outright. That's impossible, my mother stammered, her composure cracking. Oh, it's very possible, I assured her. Mr. Patterson handled all the paperwork. Mentioning Grandma's longtime attorney made her flinch. You might want to check the legality of your deal with Lisa and James. It's hard to sell what you don't own. James snatched the papers, his face reddening. You knew this whole time? You let us go through with the sale? I found out weeks ago, I admitted. Grandma always said to let people reveal their true selves. Silence fell over the kitchen. Lisa sank onto a bar stool, eyes downcast. My mother stared at the documents, as if willing them to change. You should have told us, she finally said, her voice trembling with anger. Like you should have told me you were selling my home? I countered. The home I've lived in for 10 years. The home where I cared for Grandma when none of you would help. Memories flooded back. Sleepless nights balancing Grandma's care with my fledgling catering business. James too busy with another doomed venture, my parents conveniently traveling during her hardest months. I'd put my life on hold while they assumed the building would eventually be theirs. "What do we do now?" Lisa asked quietly. "We already sold our apartment." I felt a pang of sympathy for her. Lisa had always been swept up in the family's schemes, desperate to please. "I'm not heartless," I said. "There's a vacant apartment on the 3rd floor of the neighboring building, same layout as this one. You can rent it at market rate."
"Rent?" James exploded. "From my own sister."
"Would you rather hunt for something else in this neighborhood?" I asked coolly. "I hear the new luxury complex down the street has 2-bedroom units. They're double what I'm offering." My mother stood abruptly, gathering her papers with shaking hands. "This isn't over," she snapped, but her voice lacked conviction. "Grandma had every right," I interrupted. "This building is her legacy, and she chose who to entrust it to. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with the property manager about upgrading security." I watched them leave one by one. James avoided my gaze. Lisa lingered, as if wanting to speak, then followed. My mother paused in the doorway. "You've changed," she said, her tone unclear. Accusation or realization? "No," I replied calmly. "I just stopped pretending to be who you wanted me to be." After they left, I walked through the apartment, touching the walls we'd painted with Grandma. I looked out the window, where we'd watched countless sunsets. In my office, I opened the desk drawer and pulled out the envelope. It was empty now, its critical contents used, but inside was Grandma's final letter. "Remember," she wrote, "sometimes the best revenge is simply being prepared. And sometimes the greatest gift is letting people face the consequences of their actions." I smiled, realizing she'd foreseen this long before I had. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. "Can we talk about the apartment in the other building? Just us. Maybe something good could come from this, but first I had security upgrades to handle. As Grandma said, being prepared meant staying prepared." Outside, the city hummed, oblivious to the drama in my kitchen. I had a business to run, properties to manage, and a family to keep at arm's length. But for now, I stood in my kitchen, in my home, savoring the quiet satisfaction of standing my ground. The next few days were more eventful than I expected. My father, conveniently absent during the initial confrontation, called. "Your mother's beside herself," he said, his voice heavy with familiar disappointment. "How could you humiliate the family?" I was in my kitchen, piping rosettes onto a 3-tiered wedding cake. "Humiliate the family?" I echoed. "By owning my property or by stopping you from illegally selling my home?" "Don't be stubborn, Sarah," he sighed. "We just wanted to help your brother. Family helps family." "Funny," I said, stepping back to admire my work. "None of you helped me when I slept on a cot in Grandma's room during her final months or when I built my business from nothing." Silence spoke louder than words. Finally, he sighed. "Your mother's talking to a lawyer to contest the documents. Let her try," I replied calmly. "Mr. Patterson has everything, including videos of Grandma signing and explaining her decisions. If you want to waste money on legal fees instead of accepting reality, that's your choice." Then came an unexpected visitor. Lisa stood nervously at my kitchen door, smaller without James or my mother's support. "Can we talk?" she asked, touching her belly. "I brought a peace offering." She held up a bag from my favorite bakery. I nodded to a chair. "I hope that's lemon tarts." She gave a faint smile, pulling out a box of tarts and chocolate croissants. "I remember you stress eating these during last year's wedding season." We sat in silence, the scent of butter, sugar, and the vanilla cake I was working on filling the air. Finally, Lisa spoke. "I didn't know," she said softly. "James told me your parents gifted us the apartment for the baby. I never imagined." She trailed off, looking lost. "That they were trying to steal it from me?" I finished. She flinched but nodded. "James swore they discussed it with you, that you were fine moving to a smaller place since your business takes all your time." She broke off a piece of croissant, avoiding my eyes. "I should have asked you directly." I thought of Lisa 4 years ago, entering our family with starry eyes and a desperate need to please. I'd watched my mother and James mold her, convincing her to quit teaching because a proper wife doesn't work, encouraging lavish spending to uphold the family image. "The apartment in the other building," I said, surprising myself. "The offer stands. 3rd floor, same layout. The previous tenants just moved out and I'm planning renovations." Lisa looked up, hope flickering. "Really? Even after everything?" "On one condition," I said firmly. "This stays between us. No family manipulations, no complaints to my mother. If you and James want to rent, it's a business deal. Fair price, no exceptions." "James won't like it," she admitted. "He thinks family shouldn't pay family." "And how's that worked for him?" I asked, recalling his string of failed ventures propped up by my parents' endless indulgence. "Maybe it's time for something new." Lisa sat quietly, stroking her belly. "Can I at least see it?" she asked. I grabbed the keys. "No time like now." The neighboring building mirrored mine, built by the same architect in the 1910s. The 3rd-floor apartment needed work, worn floors, outdated kitchen, but its potential was undeniable. Large windows flooded the space with light, and the layout was perfect for a young family. "It's beautiful," Lisa whispered, tracing the ornate ceiling molding. "Even like this, it's beautiful." "It needs an overhaul," I admitted, "but I was planning a full renovation. If you're interested, you can choose the finishes and make it your own." Lisa turned, tears in her eyes. "Why are you so kind to me after what we tried to do?" "Because you're the only one who apologized," I said simply. "And because I think you're finally ready to stop letting them decide for you." Our phones buzzed simultaneously, a family group chat I'd muted days ago. My mother had sent a long message. "Your father and I have made decisions about the future of both properties. Attendance mandatory." Lisa glanced at me, panic in her eyes. "What are they planning?" I didn't bother reading the rest and deleted it. "Nothing that matters. They don't own those buildings, remember? Let them scheme." "James will expect me to go," she said quietly. "They all will, to stand against you." "What do you want?" I asked. Lisa looked around, as if seeing not just an apartment, but a future. "I want to make my own choices," she said finally. "I want my child to grow up in a home that's truly ours, even if we rent it. A home not stolen from someone else." I pulled out my phone and drafted an email to my contractor. "I can order renovation plans next week. Standard lease, market rate, 1st month free during construction. But, Lisa," I paused until she met my gaze, "this has to be your decision. Not James's, not my mother's, yours." She straightened, a new confidence in her posture. "I want to see the plans when they're ready." As we headed downstairs, another message arrived, this time from my father. "Your mother is exploring legal options. Don't force us further." I showed it to Lisa, who shook her head. "They really don't know when to stop, do they?" "No," I agreed, "but they'll learn soon." Looking at her determined expression, I realized something was shifting. The family dynamic, once unbreakable, was starting to crack. This wasn't just about protecting my property anymore. It was about dismantling patterns that should have been broken long ago. "Want to help finish decorating a wedding cake?" I asked. I recall you were great with floral designs before my mother decided it wasn't elegant enough." Lisa smiled, genuinely, for the first time in ages. "I'd love to." She looked at me with gratitude. "And Sarah, thank you, not just for the apartment, but for showing me there's another way to handle things." Back in the kitchen, I recalled Grandma's words. "Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's showing others how to break free." The family meeting was set for Sunday at my parents' sprawling suburban home. I had no plans to attend until Lisa called late Saturday night, in tears. "They're planning something," she whispered. "James has been on the phone with your father's lawyer. They're going to challenge the inheritance, claiming Grandma was incompetent when she signed the papers." I sat in my office, staring at a photo of Grandma and me at my catering company's opening. "Let them try," I said calmly. "Mr. Patterson has videos of every signing, with Grandma explaining her decisions. She knew exactly what she was doing." "That's not all," Lisa continued. "They're using my pregnancy, saying we have more claim to the property because we're starting a family. James doesn't know I'm telling you this." I paused. Lisa was choosing truth over family for the first time. "Thank you for warning me. Are you coming tomorrow?" "Yes," she said firmly. "I'm done playing their games." Sunday was a perfect fall day, the kind Grandma loved. I arrived at my parents' house, noting the cars lined up. The whole family gathered for the showdown. Inside, the tension was palpable. My mother sat in her favorite armchair, presiding like a queen. My father stood behind her. James paced nervously by the window. Aunts and uncles filled the remaining seats. Lisa sat slightly apart, giving me a subtle nod as our eyes met. "Sarah," my mother said coldly, "how nice you finally joined us." "Couldn't miss it," I replied, standing firm. "Though I'm curious why we're here, since the property issue is settled." My father stepped forward, holding a familiar folder. "We've reviewed your grandmother's decisions. Our lawyer has concerns about her mental state in her final months." "Really?" I said calmly. "Those months when I cared for her while you were all too busy?" "You manipulated her," James snapped. "Turned her against us when she was vulnerable." Before I could respond, Lisa spoke up. "No, she didn't. I was there too, remember? When none of you visited, Grandma was sharp and knew exactly what she was doing." The room fell silent. James stared at his wife, stunned. "Lisa, sit down. This doesn't concern you." "It absolutely does," she said, standing and moving beside me. "You want to steal her home using our child as an excuse? I'm not playing along." My mother's face darkened. "Lisa, you're just upset. It's hormones." "Don't you dare dismiss me." Lisa shot back. "Sarah offered us a fair apartment, a real chance to build a home. But that's not enough for you, is it? You want everything. Control, power." I pulled out my phone and played a video. "Before we go further, watch this." Grandma's face appeared on the TV. "I'm recording this because I know my daughter," she said. "She never forgave me for not giving her the buildings after her wedding. But property isn't just ownership, it's responsibility. Sarah understands that. She built something real, helped others achieve their dreams. These buildings are hers, fully and legally. Any attempt to contest this will only expose your greed." She signed the papers, with Mr. Patterson confirming their legality. When the video ended, silence hung heavy. "And that's not all," I added. "Years of documentation. Want to see medical reports proving her competence? Witness statements? How far are you willing to go?" My father dropped the folder. My mother paled. But James surprised me most. "You knew," he said slowly, staring at Lisa. "You knew about the other apartment. You've been talking to her." Lisa stood taller. "Yes, because she's the only one telling the truth. The only one offering us a real chance. No schemes, no manipulation." "The renovation plans are ready," I said. If you're still interested, but this ends here. No more threats. These buildings are mine, that's final. My mother stood abruptly. I think you all should leave. We need to think. As we exited, Lisa grabbed my hand. I want to see those plans, she said loudly, for all to hear. For our new home. Outside, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the lawn. Lisa and I walked to our cars, leaving the muffled sounds of family chaos behind. They'll never forgive us, she said. I recalled Grandma's words about responsibility. Maybe, but we'll build something better. 6 months later, I stood in the renovated apartment next door, watching Lisa arrange fresh flowers on the kitchen table. Her belly was noticeably larger, and the nursery down the hall was complete. The renovation had transformed the space. Warm hardwood floors, sunlit rooms, a kitchen rivaling mine with marble counters worth every penny. Lisa had rediscovered her love for floristry, starting a small business creating arrangements for my catering events. James, though still adjusting to paying rent, had changed too. Without his wife's compliance or my parents' financial cushion, he'd taken a steady job as a consultant. Lisa said he was more focused, less entitled. My parents cycled through silence, tearful pleas, then grudging acceptance. The turning point came at a baby shower, when my mother appeared at my doorstep, looking older, uncertain. I've been thinking about what your grandmother said, she admitted, avoiding my gaze. About responsibility, about building something real. I never built anything. I just waited for it to be handed to me. It was the closest she'd come to an apology. At the shower, the first family event since the fallout, I realized how much had changed. Your mom confirmed she's coming, Lisa said, as if reading my mind. She asked if she could bring her lemon bars. I raised an eyebrow. Those lemon bars, whose recipe she guarded fiercely. She even offered to teach me how to make them. Lisa grinned. Small steps, right? My phone buzzed with a message from my property manager about a repair for an older tenant. Under my management, both buildings thrived. I'd launched a program offering affordable commercial leases to small businesses, watching new dreams take root. Ms. Mitchell, Maria, a tenant running a bustling atelier downstairs, called from the hallway. I brought curtains for the nursery and empanadas from your grandmother's recipe. This was the community Grandma envisioned. People supporting each other, building something meaningful. As Lisa and Maria chatted about decor and swapped recipes, I slipped back to my apartment. In my office, I opened the drawer and reread Grandma's letter. Property isn't just walls and a roof, Sarah, she wrote. It's creating space for people to grow, for communities to flourish. You understand this in a way your mother never did. A knock at the door startled me. To my surprise, it was James. Can we talk? He asked, looking uncertain but resolute. About everything. We sat in the kitchen where it all began months ago. James stared into his coffee, gathering his thoughts. Lisa's happier than I've ever seen her, he said finally. The apartment, her flower business, even how she stands up to Mom now. He met my eyes. I didn't realize how much we were all suffocating under their expectations. You did. I studied him. I'm learning, he admitted. Real work, real responsibilities. It's hard. Sometimes it sucks, but it's better. He took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Sarah, for trying to take your home, for not standing with you sooner. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A message from my manager about a potential new tenant, a small bakery looking to expand. I looked at James. Want to see something? What Grandma understood, and what it took me time to grasp? I led him downstairs to the commercial spaces. I introduced him to Maria and her atelier, Mr. Chen and his vintage bookstore, the new gallery showcasing local artists. Each space held a story, a dream made real. This is the point, I explained. It's not just about property. It's about creating space for people to succeed, to be independent. James was quiet, processing. Like Lisa with her flowers, he said. Like you with your catering. Exactly, I nodded. This apartment was never just a place to live. It was a chance to build something of my own. That evening, helping Lisa finish preparations for the baby shower, I thought about family, not just the one we're born into, but the one we create. Maria brought empanadas, Mr. Chen a special tea for the celebration. Even my mother called, asking to arrive early to help. I invited some of your grandmother's old friends, Lisa said, placing name cards on the table. They ask about you, you know. Say they're proud of how you've handled everything. The next morning, I stood in my kitchen, the sunrise bathing both buildings in golden light. The streets below buzzed with early activity, people heading to work, kids to school. Soon these streets would fill with family and friends celebrating new life, new beginnings. My phone buzzed again, a text from my mother. Need help setting up? I brought the lemon bars and the recipe. I smiled, recalling Grandma's words about responsibility and growth. Sometimes standing your ground isn't just about keeping what's yours. It's about creating space for everyone to become their best selves. Outside, the city awoke. In hours, my home would hum with the sounds of a healing family and a community coming together. The buildings stood tall, holding new stories, new dreams. I realized this was the true inheritance, not just property, but possibility. Looking at those two buildings, glowing like beacons in the morning light, I understood what Grandma always knew. It wasn't about shutting others out. It was about building something worth keeping. A legacy not just of ownership, but of opportunity. Maria opened her atelier below. Mr. Chen arranged books in his shop window. Lisa, no doubt, was crafting floral arrangements for the shower. This was the real victory, not just winning a fight, but creating something better afterward. Something lasting beyond the conflicts of the past. I opened a group chat with Lisa and Maria. Breakfast before the chaos. I'm brewing coffee. Their replies came instantly, warm and eager. I started the coffee machine, set out fresh pastries, and opened the windows, letting in the morning air. This was home, not just an apartment, but a community we'd built. And this time, it stood on a foundation strong enough to endure anything.